Hey there, my plant fans. Welcome back to the Keikis channel. It's been a while since we've had a plant power highlight. This time, I decided to go on location and see if we could find this ancient superstar in her natural habitat. So who's heard of poi? It's that condiment made famous by Hawaiian luau's. Not a wide audience for poi? Well, don't tell Sean that.
I like my fish and poi. I'm a big boy.
Even if you've heard of poi, I'm betting you haven't thought about it like this. Poi for skincare? Of course I had to go there. Okay, let me catch everyone up to speed. What is poi? Then I will tell you about the skincare twist. Poi is a traditional Polynesian food. People all over the South Pacific love this stuff. It sustained their populations for thousands of years before the region was introduced to potatoes or even rice. It was the only filling starch available. It was portable, stable, and perfect for voyages. And today, the Hawaiians love taking advantage of its fun purple color and put it in all sorts of non-traditional food items. If I had to break it down for you super simple, it would be like a cross between mashed potatoes and sour cream, not just in its taste and texture, but also in its culinary attributes. To put it simply, poi is made from mashing the steamed roots of the taro plant, very similar to the process most of us are familiar with mashed potatoes. Then, depending on your personal preference, it's consumed freshly mashed or left to ferment for several days, each day becoming a little bit more sour, a little bit more runny, like Greek yogurt that's been in the fridge a little bit too long. Except for poi is left to ferment at room temperature, yep, right on your countertop. And that depends on how sour you like it. I happen to love poi. For me, the more sour the better. I like 3 to 4 day old poi the best. I like to use it the way that I would use sour cream, a top around my tacos or a dip for my pulled pork. Every time I visit Hawaii, I pick up a bag from the grocery store and get it started. It's not for everyone though. Look at my dear friend Bridget giving it a try for her first time.
I
think that is the look.
It's not like really detectable. It's like maybe a tiny like tinge, but it's fine.
Poor Bridget. And I really thought poi would solve all of her problems, but it can't work unless you eat a lot of it. And Bridget has a ways to go. Okay, so what is this leap from steamed mashed taro root to healthy glowing skin? This is the part of the video where I get to plug plant power, because plants will always be better chemists than humans in laboratories. And our bodies respond better to plant molecules than they do laboratory molecules. And taro root is no exception. First of all, fun fact, raw taro root is toxic. Like I said, plants are clever chemists too. That's why I keep emphasizing steamed then mashed. The plant manufactures a chemical called calcium oxalate, which is concentrated in the roots, that when you eat it, makes your mouth and throat itchy. The more you eat, the worse it gets. Of course, it's a natural defense to protect itself from grazing animals. Luckily for us humans, the molecule decomposes at 392 degrees Fahrenheit, which is important to keep in mind if you're just roasting up some of that starchy root, like you would potatoes, because you gotta go a little bit hotter than the standard 350. But I digress. We're not talking about its amazing culinary attributes, which I assure you there are many. What we're talking about is the plant power of the finished product, poi. And this, my friends, is the same magic when milk becomes cheese. It's all about the fermentation. Unlike milk and cheese though, taro turns itself into poi pretty easily, just like that, on your countertop, which is why plants are amazing and why poi is good too. I love poi so much that I just couldn't believe that my friend Bridget didn't like it. After all, it has many studies showing it's a wonderful digestive aid, and my friend Bridget was indeed. I thought maybe she didn't try hard enough, so I made her try it again.
Bridget, thanks you.
This is what it's come to. We can do it, we can do it.
You're doing another one.
Power through. Oh, that one was bad.
On second thought, I think maybe poi is just not for her. She should maybe just skip to the topical application, which in theory would also be wonderful. It turns out that this particular plant has developed a special relationship with the earth, so that no matter which soil or where the plant is grown or whatever region in the South Pacific, it makes a pretty powerful corms in its root structure. Corms are little baby bulbs attached to the root for a symbiotic relationship with the plant. These corms naturally grow and cater to a specific type of bacteria that when smashed along with the rest of the root causes the final mixture to sour and ferment. And this marriage between the bacteria and the special starch of the taro turns the taro root mash into poi. What you're left with is a starchy pudding, if you will, that is full of minerals, antioxidants, vitamins, including high amounts of vitamin C and A, both wonderful to skin, and a heaping amount of that special bacteria that produces a chemical called niacin. Niacin is a natural, powerful preservative, as well as a topical antibiotic, antifungal, which would both be great for bacterial acne or other topical skin disorders. And it also helps keeps the poi, or the product, from spoiling without harsh chemical stabilizers. The power of poi is so awesome. Just look at several hours after her second attempt, Bridget was able to do this. Okay, maybe it wasn't the poi. I think she's awesome anyways though. So what do the studies have to say about poi and skincare? Well, with poi's power, a one-stop shop for all this goodness inside the fermenting root mash, I was betting science would have a lot to say. But can you believe I couldn't find one study on skincare and poi? I know. I mean, it checks all the boxes. So I did what any self-respecting scientist does. I tried it out on myself. So I waited 15 minutes and my skin definitely feels softer. It almost feels like an enzyme peel if you've ever done one of those. I have this papaya enzyme mask that I love to use. It reminds me of that. It feels soft, smooth, and it's definitely a peel though, probably from the sour poi. Maybe not just straight up poi then. But I am definitely onto something with the fermented part of poi. Science has done quite a bit of research on bacteria-rich fermented products and topical skincare. Hasn't everyone heard of DIY yogurt mask? Which is bacteria-rich fermented dairy. And I also did a whole video about the process of fermentation and how it unlocks the power of sea kelp, which makes a wonderful skincare product. So you already know that poi would be great in this category too. Bacteria-rich fermented starches. Maybe I could start a trend. I love poi, and I think others should get the word out too. I was just so curious about this plant. I couldn't let it go. Like I said before, I've been eating poi for years, but I'd never really actually taken the time or made the effort to go search it out. See where it lives, you know, get to know a little better. What's its house like? I became obsessed with finding it, which turns out is a bit more difficult than it looks. After all, nowadays the plant is typically cultivated, like corn is stateside. And when was the last time you saw corn growing in the wild? So I dragged my kids around and my friend Doris, and we went to go find us some taro. We searched high, we searched low, we even had a false alarm. Till finally we drove around the island and went halfway to the town of Hana, on what my children later told me was the second most dangerous highway in the world. I'll believe it, that was crazy. But finally, we stopped at a place called the Garden of Eden. Yes, that was the name these people chose for their botanical attraction. And a side note, while we were there, I did get to meet my plant crush. I had to give it a hug. I have a hall pass for this guy. So, ultra rare, famous rainbow eucalyptus tree. Box check. This garden was the perfect habitat for our plant power friend as well, taro. Rainy and shady, not like the other side of Maui that's more of a desert. I was so excited. My trip was finally coming to an end and I was running out of places to look for our superstar. Of course, she would be growing in the Garden of Eden. You're my only kid. The only one that stays with me. Right there. And we found it. Some naturally growing taro root. Shame on me for ever having a shadow of doubt. There you have it. Toxic taro mash makes poi, which turns a symbiotic relationship into acid-producing bacteria and then into a wonderful nutrient for humans. Whew. All right, take care. What? I could have let this plant power highlight end without talking about a super cool scientific study about poi. After all, that's what I love doing, reading cool studies. But wait, Chantel, I thought you said you couldn't find any. Well, what I said was I couldn't find any studies with poi in skincare. There are a ton of studies about poi and its nutritional value, even an amazing substitute for baby formula and lactose intolerant babies. But I found an even more strange study that I just couldn't pass up on sharing. This study has all the ingredients for a great story. It has the Army, tropical islands of Hawaii, science of course, environmental sustainability in mind, and best of all, Hot Pockets.
I'm moving a little slow tonight. I had a Hot Pocket for dinner. Hot Pockets!
Well, who doesn't love Hot Pockets? Okay, here's how the story goes. The Army's own Biosystems Development Program performed this study over 2 years, from 2002 to 2004. But it all started in 2000 when Congress had appropriated funds to revitalize the economy in the state of Hawaii by developing products that were unique to the state. I'd say yes, poi is very unique to the state. Plus, the Army is always looking for new foods to include in their field meal ready programs. These foods need to have a long shelf life, be ready to eat out of container, and also be ultra portable. This report also lists their study techniques and includes recipes, the various version of their poi burrito. But let me tell you, after reading this report, it is not a burrito. In fact, the summaries refer to it more palatably as a burrito. But it's a bread pocket filled with poi, ground beef, and soy mix, taking a page from Taco Bell, I see, an assortment of seasonings. Yes, effectively a poi hot pocket. That is, if you're lucky enough to be able to heat it up in the field. Then it would just be a cold pocket. So guess what? The powerful antibiotic and antifungal chemical nisin produced by the fermenting taro did pass the meat test challenges, and the poi hot pocket was found to be stable at 80 degrees temperature for 3 years. Go science. The Happy Soldiers based in Honolulu, Oahu were the first to field test this new recipe, and most gave it glowing reviews. See, I'm not the only poi lover out there. However, follow-up articles about the disastrous rollout of ethnic foods for the wider masses of the army highlight that poi's pocket sandwich was kinda mostly disliked by everybody else. Perhaps it turns out that just as taro is unique to Hawaii, those who rate it favorable are also unique to Hawaii. But the story does not end on a sad note. The power of poi was finally recognized and given its 15 minutes of fame. Poi and its special bacteria that produces nisin was in fact discovered through legitimate studies that proved it to be a powerful natural preservative. Science gets a win after all. Now, nearly 10 years later, nisin is widely used in many naturally preserved foods. While nisin doesn't come from poi anymore, at least the humble little tuber gets credit for bringing it out of the soil and into the culinary light. Okay, there you have it. Fermented taro root and its powerful plant power highlight, its special bacteria, and its natural preservative, nisin. All right, bye for now. Take care.